GPU prices are insane right now, and it's messing up my PC flipping game. Ever since Nvidia announced the 50 series, the used market has been all over the place. But it's not just with GPUs. I'm sure it's not related, but AM4 motherboards also have been a nightmare to find for a decent price, especially micro ATX boards. Let me break it all down for you, starting with the GPUs. Over the past year, I've been able to find this sweet spot, and most of my PC flips have been built around a Ryzen 7 5800X CPUs paired with RTX 3070s and sometimes RTX 3060s. For the longest time, I could easily get RTX 3070s for around $250 to $270, but now you can't even find one under $300, which is absolutely crazy, especially this time around. Same with the RTX 3060s, they're just overpriced, and towards the end of last year, I even started switching to RTX 4060s because I was able to get them for a good price, but now prices are ridiculous or you just can't even find them. So, what's my next move? Well, this box is not what you think. Oh, and before we get into that, check this out. This box, people have been getting really creative or strange when shipping parts to me. I've seen some weird packaging before, but imagine receiving something wrapped in aluminum foil. Like, is there a secret reason for this that I don't know about? Anyway, I'll go over what's inside later. Let's get back to my game plan, now with the GPU prices being up. Since I usually stay around the mid-range when flipping PCs, I had to rethink my approach. While I was shopping around, what caught my attention were the RTX 2070s. I've been seeing them priced around $150 to $190, which isn't bad. Personally, I wouldn't pay more than that. After some hunting, I managed to grab two of them. One was from eBay and the other one was from Mercari. Speaking of Mercari, it actually seemed like the better spot for finding these at lower prices. Now let's go over the build using one of these RTX 2070s. As you saw earlier, looking at the shape of this, it's definitely a motherboard. I picked up a Gigabyte B550M Aorus Elite. Like I said earlier, these AM4 motherboards, especially micro ATX, have been getting hard to find. I didn't get the best deal, but I had no other choice. I also noticed in the listing, it had a M.2 drive, and as you can see, it's actually still on the motherboard. It's a 256 gigabyte inline, nothing crazy, but hey, I can throw this in for just extra. To stay budget friendly, I went with a Ryzen 5 5500. Not a crazy deal, but it's fair. It doesn't take much to cool down the Ryzen 5 5500. For the cooler, I went with a Thermaltak Assassin Spirit. Simple, clean, cheap, and it gets the job done. Sticking with one of my go-to kits, the thermaltak Pinnacle Conduit 2x8 gigabyte. As always, I offer a 2x16 gigabyte upgrade for buyers who want more memory. For the storage, a 1TB M.2 is my standard, so I went with a Clev Kraz, which have been my go-to drives for a while now. Now let's talk about the case. I'm excited to say this is the first sponsored product on my channel. Okinos reached out to me after seeing my build in their Aqua 3 case a few months ago. They offered to send out their Cypress 3 PC case, and honestly, I would have bought this case anyways, because one, I've always wanted to build in a case with wood accents. 2, I love micro ATX builds, and 3, I always wanted to do a non-RGB build, just a clean, sleek look. The case comes with 4 pre-installed fans, 3 in the front, 1 in the back, and also has a mesh front panel for great airflow, which is especially important in micro ATX cases. And that's not all. They also sent over their power supply extension cables. You already know I'm a huge fan of cable extensions. I truly believe it helps make the builds stand out when selling. What are your thoughts on cable extensions? Huge shout out to Okinos for sending these over. I'm a small channel and I just hit 1,000 subs, so for a company to notice and support me like this, it really means a lot. Honestly, I wish more companies would do this and support smaller creators. So this is one of the first builds with the RTX 2070. Before we go over the second build, in between all this, I did get a local customer. Their budget was between $1,000 to $1,200. Their main thing was they wanted to play the Sims game, download mods, and maybe in the future able to do some content. So let's go over the specs on this order and let me know what your thoughts are. I was originally gonna go with AMD, but it was more expensive. So for the CPU, which was at such a great price, was a i7 12700KF. The motherboard is a ASRock B760 Pro RS Wi-Fi. The RAM and storage is my usual 2x16 kit of thermaltak Pinnacle Conduit and a 1TB Clev Kraz M.2 drive. The 12700K does run hot, so I went with a dual tower cooler. This is the second time I've used this cooler, and it's a up here ARGB dual tower cooler. It has 6 heat pipes and it has a TDP of 265 watts. For For the PC case, which I've always been a fan of, is the Apivia Hydra in pink. It comes with 6 fans pre-installed, 3 in the front for intake, 2 up top, and 1 in the back for exhaust. Powering this up is also an Apivia Galaxy 850 watt power supply. And to finish off this build is the graphics card. I went with a XFS Speedster RX 7700 XT. It's been a while since I've gone AMD on a graphics card, but price to performance, you just can't beat it, especially with how things are now. Before I go over the second build with the second RTX 2070 that I got, right before all this, I know you guys are probably tired of seeing these builds in this style case, but I was actually able to get an RTX 3060 build with a 5800X. I do want to give a shout out to Taekwondo for hooking me up with one of his subs. He was selling an RTX 3060 and an RTX 3080, which I actually bought both for a really great price. So shout outs to Anthony for the great deal and for subbing. I already had plans for this RTX 3080, so you will be seeing this soon. Alright, let's quickly go over the second RTX 2070 build. It's pretty similar to the first one when it comes to specs. Besides the RTX 2070, the RAM, storage, and power supply are the same. For the CPU on this one, I went with a Ryzen 5 5600X, which I got for a pretty decent deal on eBay. The PC case I was going for was actually a mistake. I got this thermaltak View 170 in black. It only fits up to a micro ATX. I wasn't paying attention when I was ordering it. I was looking for a PC case that could fit a full-size ATX motherboard because I had this B550 motherboard that I had ordered a while back. I planned on using it for this build, so I ended up finding an ASRock B550M Wi-Fi instead. The CPU cooler I went with was a Vitro V5, which at the time was a bit cheaper than my usual thermaltak Assassin Spirit. The reason why I usually go with the same parts when it comes to the RAM, storage, power supply, and coolers is because they're usually the cheapest ones, but I still shop around just to make sure it's still the cheapest, because sometimes things go on sale and they could be cheaper, even if it's just a few dollar difference, because it could be those few extra dollar difference that can go towards other parts. So which one of these builds is your favorite? The Okinos with the Ryzen 5 5500 and RTX 2070, the thermaltak View with the 5600X and the RTX 2070, the pink Apivia Hydra with the i7 12700KF with the RX 77 XT, or the Sama PC with the Ryzen 5 5800X with the RTX 3060. Let me know down in the comments, or is there anything you would change in these builds? Also, is anyone planning to build a new PC or looking to upgrade? If so, what graphics cards do you plan on going with? AMD just shared their specs and pricing on the RX 9070 and 9070 XT. They say that the pricing for the 9070 is $549 and $599 for the RX 9070 XT. Seems like they're targeting the mid-range GPUs, which I think is smart of them, because that's where most people buy at. Looks like they're going to compete with the RTX 5070 and 5070 Ti, which one, isn't even available at the moment, and two, as long as AMD's prices are lower than the RTX 5070 and 5070 Ti, I think they would definitely benefit from this big time. So before I end this video, one big thing I want to mention with Okinos, they sent this case out and didn't ask or wanted me to mention anything specific. They just wanted me to showcase their Cypress 3 PC case, which is huge because I've gotten other sponsor opportunities in the past, but usually they have requirements or they want you to say specific things, which is just not my thing. So big shout outs to Okinos again. And also, I forgot to mention, they do include this certification on the genuine walnut wood, which is pretty awesome because I wasn't sure if it was actual wood or just an imitation. So definitely check this case out if you're going for a new build. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.